Welcome to the KUIS8
podcast.
Not one, not two, but
Eight.
That's right, it's the KUIS8 podcast. Nice. Thank you very much, everyone. We are your favorite podcasters over here.
We have Rowie.
And Mike.
Derek.
And Pratik.
Oh, yes, our compare Pratik. All right. What's the topic today, Pratik?
Well, we are back again with a new theme today. And I think we will talk about our school life. Are you guys excited?
Oh, yes.
School
Well, it
life.
seems like Derek really enjoyed his school life. What was school life for you?
Oh, wow.
Oh, school life.
Wait,
Ladies first.
are we gonna do university school life or high school or?
That's a very good thing. I was thinking about this, and I got some ideas, about my junior high school or primary school.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Start
Talk
from the
about it.
beginning.
Okay.
Start from the start.
Yeah, school life. I enjoyed my school life. I really did. There's so many memories that I have, and I just I loved being with my friends, and but one thing I really did enjoy was lunchtimes.
Why?
It was my opportunity to just play football.
Okay.
It was my key focus in my school. This was primary school and secondary school. I always loved playing football with my friends at lunchtime.
Interesting.
And after lunch, I was always a sweaty mess.
Ready for math, sitting down for maths class or
Yes,
something.
and science, and oh my God, yes, it's stinky. It's stinky, Derek.
Did you say your name? Stinky Dad?
That's right. Yes, always very smelly.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
If we didn't have a football, we were playing with a tennis ball.
Football with a tennis ball?
Yes.
Ah.
I loved being a goalkeeper, and I was a bit crazy, so I was diving on concrete.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy.
You're
Yeah.
a goalkeeper?
Yes.
Oh, me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From one goalkeeper to another.
Yes. Did you ever, I think every goalkeeper has this experience. You're trying to save a ball
Yes.
and you put your hand in the wrong place and all your fingers get...
I actually had an operation on my finger.
Yeah.
That's for another time. Story for another time.
So,
Scars.
Operations and scars we've had.
Yes.
yeah. I got a lot of those. Well, that's nice. So
Oh,
football
yeah.
during the breaks, was that like in a football pitch or was that just behind the buildings?
No, just the playground.
Anywhere you want.
Yeah, playground. But yeah, I was known as the crazy goalkeeper.
Yeah, on concrete.
On
You were jumping
concrete, yeah. Diving on concrete was fine. Cuts and bruises everywhere, but
on your elbows.
yeah, elbows. There were so many cuts and bruises.
All down your side. 'cause
Well, it
you're-
doesn't
Yes.
seem like, Derek, you disliked anything, but was there anything you disliked about school life?
Science. Science of mathematics.
Oh,
Yeah, I really did not enjoy science class, and so much so that I was just really wanted to run out
And play football.
every class.
Yeah.
And I was not very good at science and maths, and I was always in the lower sets. I didn't really put much effort into my science classes or maths class. The reason is that it was too difficult for me. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't really enjoy maths or science.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I never enjoyed mathematics, but science was something that I was interested in.
Right.
Yeah, maybe not the practical applications, but the theory part really intrigued me. Rowena, let's talk about Rowena. Do I just call you Rowena?
Rowena. I'm Rowena's
There you
there.
are.
Rowie, so what was school life for you?
Well, growing up in the Philippines, it meant that I had to study. Not had to, but the good schools were usually the Catholic schools. So throughout my life, from I guess kindergarten until university, I was in a Catholic school. Even my school for my graduate degree was a Catholic school.
Sorry to interrupt. Why were the Catholic schools the good schools?
They were considered the good schools because there were more funding, I guess, for it. And nuns and priests. The church is such a big institution in the Philippines.
True.
And they always attach like a church to a school,
Mhm.
and you know, I don't even know if they get. I'm sure they don't get all the money from charity, but there's just this image in the Philippines that Catholic schools are the good schools. It doesn't mean that students who are not Catholic cannot go there. It's actually
course,
open
yeah.
to all students.
Right.
But the teachings are, it's not entirely just Catholic teachings every day, but you have a subject where you study religion, and it's focused on Catholic teachings.
Right.
You pray every day. We prayed the rosary every day. So one of the things I did like about my schools, I guess, was the routine,
Mm-hmm.
and that, I guess, helped build my personality, where routine kind of fits in a lot into my life.
That's true.
Mike kind of knows that because we're
Mm.
office mates, but yeah, the routine of just like waking up, going to school, it really instilled good discipline in me, I think. You know, homework and all of that. And it was great because, I don't know, it was very strict, but I felt as if, even if I was having a hard time, I hated math too. I wasn't a fan
Well,
of math.
Better.
Yeah, if there was something that I did dislike, it was math. But I felt like we were always given so much homework. That was another thing I disliked about it. But the routine every day, like just going to school, knowing that this is what I need to do, and all of the homeworks, and they exposed us to so many things. We'd have speech contests, dance performances, like everything, sports that you can think of. And I got the experience of studying. In my primary years, I was in a co-ed school. My schoolmates were both girls and boys. But in high school, I was in an all-girls school.
Ooh.
So there was that shift where it was just girls in a classroom, and then university life was co-ed again.
Right.
So I completely enjoyed my school life. It wasn't always easy, but looking back at it now, I felt like there were so many interesting things that I got exposed to.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. What about
Nice.
Mike?
Oh, yeah. My school life was pretty interesting because when I was really young, I lived in a really small village in Wales, and we had a school with 17 students.
So,
Wow.
Was it? Two
Wow.
teachers, 17 students. That's
Wow.
And so there are two classes. First class was age 6 to about 8 or 9. And then the next class was 10 to 12. And all the kids were just together
Oh,
in
okay.
those classes. And
So
it was
mixed age groups.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was a Welsh
Yeah.
Welsh only school on certain days. So
Wow.
on like Tuesday and Wednesday we'd only speak Welsh in the classroom.
Wow.
Wow.
But then when I was about 8, we moved to England to a big boarding school in the countryside. So still it was very remote. It was far away from anywhere, but much bigger school. It was pretty nice. And then at university I moved to a city. So it's quite fun. I started in a tiny little country school, moved to a bigger boarding school in the country, and then a big city for university. And yeah, for me it was really good. It gave me a lot of chance to enjoy the countryside and have a relaxed, quiet childhood, and then move up to crazy times
Yes.
at university.
Well, quite a shift there.
Yeah.
Mm.
One thing that I disliked in my boarding school was there's a psychology teacher who's actually now one of my favorite teachers when I look back. But at the time he had this horrible trick where he'd ask the class a question and you put your hand up and you answer, and his response was always, "Are you sure?
Oh,
Really?
okay.
You think so?"
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, and it made you double think. You're like, huh? And you look around, everyone's looking at you,
Right.
and it used to make me so embarrassed. And you'd have to either change your answer or kind of commit. You go, yeah, I think that's right. And his answer would always be, "You're correct. I just wanted to make sure you knew that."
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, you son of a..."
Challenging.
Oh, so
Mind
frustrating.
tricks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was funny. But he was cool.
Wow.
He was a good teacher.
Well, it seems like you remember this teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Very well. That brings me to the next question about who your favorite teacher was.
Oh, that was very smooth.
That was smooth, right?
Nice.
Great job.
Yeah.
I've always loved my English teachers. So ever since I was young, I was lucky that I had good English teachers. I guess the most memorable one is my high school English teacher. Her name is Miss Pike. She was my homeroom teacher and my English teacher when I was in third year high school. And we called her Mama Pike because we were all girls and we were her babies in my, again, all girls school, high school. But she was great. She exposed us to like a lot of different kinds of literature. We did Beowulf. We did Divina Commedia, like the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. And then what she did was, this is so memorable for me, we had to act out all of the different circles of hell. It was
All 7.
fun and funny because, you know, like there were some where like, your punishment is to be upside down, and like, and we had to do this in a big hall. And it was crazy looking back at it now that, why did we have to do this? But it made it fun. And it made like reading like stuff like that fun. We just did different like stories, and we didn't read everything in the original text because that's gonna be hard, and we're high school students, right? But she exposed us to it, and it made us like want to read more or want to learn more about these different kinds of texts.
Oh, she was inspirational.
She was inspirational. And even now, like when I went home to the Philippines over the summer, a friend of mine said, "Oh, I bumped into Miss Pike in a shopping mall or something," and she was like, "Oh, how's Rowie? How's Sab?" Because like she knew my high school group was called the Spirit Com, or the Spiritual Committee, because we were put in different committees. There's like the cleaning committee, the academic committee. I was in the spiritual committee.
Were you guys summoning spirits?
I wish,
Doing
but no.
seances?
We had to organize mass, like misa.
Oh.
So students organize mass maybe once or twice a year. Like every day there was mass, and each class would have to organize it. So we have to take charge of who's the prayer leader, or if there's a mass, or if there's a special mass, we have to find people who will do the offerings, because you do like fruit offerings or flower offerings. There will be readers, like who will read the gospel and so on. So I was very spiritual. But yeah.
I like how they never named it a religious club, but spiritual.
Spiritual
Yes,
club.
you're
Makes a
the
hell lot of
spiritual
difference.
Yeah, right.
committee. So each class had a spiritual committee, and my group, we ended up together, and that group of friends are still the same group of friends that I have.
Right.
And,
Oh, wow.
and she remembers
And
us.
Miss Pike remembered?
Yeah, Miss Pike
You
remembers.
guys.
Oh, how's Spirit Calm? How's Rowie? How's Adlin? And it's just nice, like knowing that she left a mark, I guess, in
I'm sure,
us,
yeah.
because like we really enjoyed the year that we had.
Oh, which
with
is
her.
why you became an English teacher today.
One of the reasons.
Right.
I've had other really good English teachers, but I'd say she's one of the biggest
Of course.
inspirations.
There are always teachers that leave a mark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Great story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about Derek?
Yeah, for me, I've got this teacher. I'm not sure if she's my favourite teacher, but she sure is like the strangest teacher.
Yeah, sure.
Strange is good.
Yeah.
But her name was Mrs. Pearson, and she was one of my primary school teachers. And we had this nickname for her, and we used to call her Pick Your Nose Pearson.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no.
She-
God.
Yes, and unfortunately, she had this tendency to pick her nose a lot. And,
Whoa.
yes, and we can. Every lesson we had with her, there was always some time where she would just try to secretly pick her nose, but we all knew she was doing it.
Mining for some golden.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you for making it worse.
I knew someone would follow up on that, but
Had to put my nose in.
put your nose in.
Oh, no.
But there was another thing about her. There was randomly, she would just shout in class, like, ah!
Really?
And we don't know why, because nobody was making a noise, nobody was being naughty. She would just randomly would shout, ah! And it was a bit frightening. So
Did she see spirits or something?
maybe spirits. She was very
She
spiritual.
should join the spiritual committee.
Right.
So we never knew if she needed help about this, but I think she was our teacher for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And she picked her nose often, and she was shouting randomly. And maybe it was I'm not sure if it was a good or bad memory, a neutral memory.
A memorable memory.
A memorable memory. And pick your nose, Pearson. That was a very memorable teacher for me.
Mama Pike,
So Mama
pick your nose,
Pike.
Pearson.
Yes. Completely different teachers.
Yes.
What about Mike?
Oh, for me, I had loads of great teachers. I think one of the reasons I got really familiar with my teachers because my father was a teacher in the school that I was studying at, and we lived at the school.
You mean the one in England?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so the reason we moved to England was because he got a job at this boarding school. So we lived there, and we used to spend time with the other teachers after school, having parties and things like that. So I got to know them all on a more personal level.
Wow.
And yeah, they're all crazy. Teachers are all crazy. One of my favorites was a guy called Chris Ponder. He was lovely. He used to teach religious studies and ethics as well. And he was a quite strict teacher, but he also knew how to have a lot of fun with the students. And he had this rule where when we use our notebooks, we always have to put the date at the top of the page and underline the titles as well. And I don't know why, but he decided to focus on this a lot in the classes. And if someone didn't do it, he'd give them this punishment where he picks them up and pretends to put them in the bin. There was like a massive bin.
What?
And he's like, I'm going to put you in the bin.
Like he carried?
He's really strong. He's a
Oh,
really strong
wow.
guy. So he used to pick kids up and just pretend to put them in the bin. And everyone's going, oh my God. Ah! And everyone else is just underlining their work to make sure they didn't get put in the bin as well. He was really interesting like that.
That's one way to follow the rules.
Yeah. And he used to do all sorts of stuff. He used to teach the swimming club as well. And I was a lifeguard for the swimming club, like volunteer. So we used to have fun there with him. He had this special martial arts that he used to call Pondu, because his name was Mr. Ponder.
Oh my God.
And he had this Pondu. And he'd teach kids how to do it in the swimming pool. Basically just jumping in the swimming pool, doing crazy kicks and jumps and stuff. He's like, okay, everybody, are you ready for a masterclass in Pondu? And then we'd do that. And he also used to run the Christian camps. My father is a teacher and a minister. So him and Mr. Ponder were very, very close because they were both involved in the church. And we used to have these big Christian camps in the summer holidays, camping in different parts of the country, and he would always be there as well to help supervise. So I spent a lot of time with Mr. Ponder.
Yes.
And he also had an obsession with hedgehogs. He loved hedgehogs. And if you go to his house, he's got little hedgehog toys and posters and cards everywhere because all the students would give him little hedgehog presents at the end of the semester. So he was fun. He's a really likable teacher. A lot of people loved him a lot.
Maybe well respected as well.
Yeah, he was strict but had fun, and you could tell that he really wanted us to learn a lot, but he wanted us to feel relaxed and also enjoy our subjects.
That's nice. How about
Yeah.
you, Pratik? We have
Yes.
Mrs. Pearson, Mr.
Ponda.
Master
Master of
Mama
Pondu.
Pike.
Well,
There's
PPP.
exactly.
And now
There's a
Pratik.
yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember. I mean, I've had lots of favorite teachers, but I will tell you the kind of teacher that I did not like.
Okay.
So there was this really, really sarcastic teacher. She would just step into the class and she would look at everybody and then she would make a random comment. She would go, there are students who are good at academics. There are students who have a good character. And then there are students who have none. Isn't it, Pratik? That vitriolic sarcasm.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
That sounds...
That's
That's the kind of
sarcasm.
toxic teacher I had.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
wow.
But now I just laugh about it. But at that point in time, I would think like, my goodness, lady, take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're a young guy in a class, so it's a kind of a new experience, and someone's giving you that kind of treatment.
So toxic.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, yeah, well, so because of which I used to get involved in a lot of shenanigans in school, but let's talk about shenanigans that you were involved in. Or any funny incidents that you can recall.
Just I like to take a minute just to enjoy the word shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fun word to say. Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, sure, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
So I'll just take a minute. Shenanigans was a very popular pub in my village. We would always say, no, it was Brannigan's. Brannigan's was the. So we would always say Shenanigans at Brannigan's.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Anyway,
Yeah.
a good. Okay, so yes, I had a. I called it the luckiest throw. This little story. So it was a snowy afternoon at school, and yes, I was not the.
Wait, how old were you then?
This was junior high school.
Okay.
So junior high school age, and I think it was at lunchtime. It was a snowy day. There was no football because there was snow on the playground. So there was no teachers around me, and I was just. I'm feeling a little bit. What should I do? There's snow here, and I love snowball fighting. So and I love throwing things. So I actually just made a snowball, and I don't know why I did it. It could be dangerous. There could have been something inside this snowball, like a little stone or something. But it was a nice fluffy snowball, and I thought, why not throw it? So I actually threw it as far as I could, and I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe my luck. But I think it was the funniest thing, and I couldn't stop laughing. So I threw it as far as I could, and it actually landed on another student's head, and she went ah, and I loved her reaction.
Yeah, the reactions are the best part.
And she, to this day, I don't think she knew who threw the snowball, but it was the funniest thing. Her reaction.
Wow. How far would you say?
Oh, I don't know.
If we say you're standing,
yes.
you're standing outside the Salk building
maybe.
front door.
Yes. A good. I would
Halfway
say.
through building 1?
Maybe yes.
To building, to the
maybe
building
that
one
distance.
area?
It was quite a long throw. I threw it as far as I could, and it just landed directly on her head and splat. It was amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it was just the funniest thing. Sorry. Anyway, that was my little funny story.
Funny incident.
It does sound funny, yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Actually, Derek's story about Mrs. Pick Your Nose Pearson.
Pick your nose, Pearson.
Yes, actually reminded me of this one teacher. This didn't exactly happen to me, but it was one of my good friends. So we have this teacher, and sometimes when teachers speak, there's some who there's a lot of saliva.
We've all had those kind of teachers. We all have had those kind of teachers.
Another word is spit.
Yes.
Spit, yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
he was our economics teacher. We were in high school. His name was Sir Mackey. And he wore these glasses. He was really nice, but he was kind of nerdy, I guess. Like, always just everything about economics. It's like his passion, his life. Like, that's all he wants to talk about. Anyways, we were having a class. And my really good friend, Adlin, was sitting in front. I think I was just, like, close behind. And she was listening intently to him, with her face, her hand cupping her face, right? So looking at the professor. And there were no masks because, well, it was pre-Corona. And Sir Mackey, again, with all of the saliva, something went flying to my friend's face. And she was blinking her eyes because something landed on her cheek.
Ew.
But that's not the worst thing. Sir Mackey was like, takes his finger, wipes the saliva away from her cheek, and was like, sorry, and continues discussing.
Man.
And we were just like, oh my God.
That's disgusting.
I would be scarred for life.
It's Mackey. Oh,
that happened, and he just continued on. Like,
What did you guys do?
we couldn't do anything because he
Right.
just continued like discussing. We were all like shocked. We were
Looking at each other.
yeah, exactly. We were just like, oh my god, that
Yeah.
just happened. Like he just like wiped away his own spit
Ew.
off of our like classmates, our friends' face, and was like, sorry.
I'm just like visualizing this whole situation.
Yeah, right?
It's just
I had to explain
disgusting.
it in detail, or else you guys wouldn't like
Oh
get
my
the
God.
feeling of
No, we get the
disgust.
drift. We get the drift.
The visceral.
Oh.
Exactly.
It's a sticky scenario.
So it has remained in all of our collective memory. So at this point, me and my friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Memorable, funny incident.
Very memorable, I must say.
Yes.
Yes.
Sticks with you. Mike, what have you got for us?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna delve into my bag of shenanigans.
Oh, I
There's a
know.
lot of
Because there
shenanigans.
were
Yeah.
many.
Yes.
I'll try and think of a really good one. Okay, so in my sixth form, which would be, I guess, senior high school in Japan, sort of 16 to 18 years old, we had these study blocks, and the students had little study rooms that you could all go to get away from all the younger students and study properly. And we had a long hallway in the study block, and my friends and I used to come up with lots of different games to play in there, and one of them was called Fireball.
Sorry.
And this was terrible. We had a tennis ball, and somebody had
That's
a bottle of lighter fluid, and we soaked the tennis ball in lighter fluid
Oh my gosh.
and set it on fire, and then we decided to start just throwing and kicking this tennis ball up and down the hallway.
What?
And it became a really popular game. We had maybe 10 different students who'd join in and play it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
This is in school.
It's in school.
What? How
Um,
did you even bring your lighter?
Inside.
Like,
Fluids.
yeah, inside.
Oh yeah, you could just put it in your study block, and
Wow.
teachers stay away from there.
Wow.
But one day, my friend was he was standing far away, and he was like, "Throw it, and I'll hit it with my head." So I went, "Okay." So I threw it, and it hit him on the head, and the lighter fluid all fell on his head, and his hair set on fire. And he was running around with his hair on fire for about 5-10 seconds.
Oh
Just
my
going,
God.
That's wicked.
And we put it out, and then all his hair fell out.
Oh no!
So for about 4 months or something, he had to grow his hair
Oh
back.
no, but he didn't get burned or anything.
No,
Right? Okay.
and we couldn't tell the teachers why all his hair was falling out, so we had to kind of just he shaved his head, and he had to tell his parents that we shaved his head at school.
Oh God.
He did get burnt off,
Wow.
and that was the legend of Fireball.
Fireball.
It was great fun.
You guys were evil.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. At
Wow.
school.
Yeah, sounds like it. What do you think are some similarities and dissimilarities? Well, let's talk about similarities between your school life and a Japanese school life.
Oh wow.
I think the schedule, just thinking about it, just the schedule is, it might be similar. They start at 8:30 and finish
About
at
5.
3. But
At about three,
three,
five.
three-
Wow.
3 or 5. Depends if they have club
I think I was
activities, I
lucky.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And summer holidays, I think, is quite similar. I think they get 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, definitely the schedules seem to be similar. Maybe that's
it
where
for me.
is that where the similarities end?
Yeah,
I feel like
I'm sure there are lots of dissimilarities
yeah.
considering the culture.
Uniforms. We had to wear uniforms as well,
Yes, uniforms.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I think in terms of lessons, from my understanding, talking to Japanese students, Japanese classes seem a lot more passive.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot more
Ah,
students
yes.
are in the
I
class.
think we can all agree with
Yes.
that. Yes.
Students are expected to sit and listen,
and
right?
sit. Yeah.
In at least in my school, probably in your school in
Yes.
the UK, we often are encouraged to talk and discuss,
Ask questions.
ask a lot of
Yes,
questions,
yes,
share
yes,
our
yes.
opinions.
Yes.
So we get really used to talking in front of each other in the class a lot.
Right.
And for a lot of students, especially at university level, in the UK, you'd be expected to answer questions
Mhm.
quickly
Yeah.
when a
Yeah.
teacher asks it. But in Japan, I find that students aren't very familiar with that style.
Right.
So it takes them quite a long time to start to learn. Oh, I need to answer quick, or
Right.
I feel comfortable
Yes.
talking in front of everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
That's probably the major difference for me.
Mm.
That's an interesting point.
It's
Yeah.
definitely more interactive, like
Mm.
in our school. And we started doing presentations even at a young age. Like they trained us to
Right.
be able to go up in front of the class and just do a presentation. So as we progressed to secondary and university, you're kind of used to it already. Doesn't mean you're like perfect at it, but
But mistakes are allowed.
yeah,
You're
mistakes
allowed
are
to
allowed.
make mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But from primary school, we're expected to like know to stand up in front and present something, or like you said, to answer questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also start us early to answer deeper questions. Like there's
Right.
always like deeper why questions,
Yeah.
or analyze your own thinking even more than what's on the
A lot
surface
of critical
level.
thinking.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, those are, I think, some of the similarities and dissimilarities. We can all agree.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, do you have something to add?
Nothing to add.
Okay.
Bukatsu or clubs, I guess, were not as intense in the Philippines. We had them, but here it's pretty.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I
Like
agree.
Saturday training
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We never had Saturday school.
Yeah. And during the summer, you
In
don't
our
have to
school.
do
Me
school
too.
clubs because
Right.
it's summer vacation.
It's summer vacations. Yeah.
Or winter vacation here, at least. For us, it's Christmas vacation.
For me, I think most of the club activities are built into the timetable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we never had to stay back
Mm-hmm.
in
Mhm.
school. We were done by 2:00, and then it's your own.
2:00?
Yeah.
Wow.
It
Nice.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
great. But we
5:30.
started as early as 7ish.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We did
Mhm.
7:30 to 4:30 for us.
Right.
So
Okay.
in the Philippines, at least, yeah.
What did it be? 8:45 to 5:30.
Oh, wow.
I think was
Okay.
ours.
Interesting conversation, guys. That brings me to the last question
Oh,
of today,
yes.
which is very, very philosophical and deep. What would you tell your high school self today?
Don't play fireball, man. Yeah. Just wear a hat. Yeah, wear a hat when you play fireball.
Relax a little bit more, I guess. I think I started to relax more in school when I was towards the end of my high school life and my university life. But in the lower years, in the Philippines, you're kind of like, you have to study. I guess a little bit the same here in Japan. You have to study hard, like get into a good school, follow the routines, do your homework, like all of the discipline that I got.
Don't be too harsh on
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So relax a little bit more, enjoy your time with your friends, because, it's not going to
It never comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. What about Derek?
Yeah, I'm actually very similar to Rowie. I think just relax and just don't worry so much. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good support network. You'll have family and friends around you, and you won't be alone. So just be yourself. Just don't be afraid to be yourself, and it will all come together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same kind of deal. I think if you could tell your high school self, life is bigger than high school.
That's it.
That would be a big deal. Like
Yeah.
when you're at high school, it feels like it's your whole world.
Mhm.
And if you make a mistake in that world, it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if you lose a friend or if you have a fight with a friend in this small world, it feels really big. But very, very quickly, your world's going to grow so much bigger, and all these little mistakes and problems are going to be so small.
That's it.
And if you could only know that when you were in high school, I think you'd be way less stressed about things.
And
Yeah.
just to try everything that you want to try, because you kind of hold back sometimes
Yes.
when you're in high school.
Because
and
that's
younger.
your little
Bubble.
bubble.
Yeah.
You stay in your comfort zone. You're afraid that your friends will say something, or to step out of your group feels like
Yes.
it's too scary, or I'm not going to be good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the best time to try out things. It's the perfect
Yeah.
time to explore, right?
Okay, with some of those advices, I think that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for
We-
thank you, Pratik, for fielding the questions.
Thank you, guys.
They were
As
great
always.
as always.
We
Yeah.
will be back with another
Yes.
podcast next month. So
Yeah.
stay tuned, everybody.
Don't
Yes.
forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We would appreciate any topics that you have. Maybe
you would like us to
yeah.
discuss. Why not?
That'd be great. And if you do want to play Fireball, let me know. we can arrange
speak
that
to Mike.
sometime. Yeah. Thank you. This has been the
KUIS8
KUIS8 podcast. KUIS8 podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.